Okay. All right. Good morning, everybody. Glad to see you guys all brought your laptops. Did you bring a laptop? Oh, you can't log in anyway.
Yeah. I did try.
Okay, so today we're going to talk about Zipforms. So Zipforms is the website that houses all of the contracts. This is where you're going to log in and pull up a purchase contract to fill it out, send for digital signatures, or you can print it out and have the buyers sign it in person. And then you're then going to take that offer or purchase contract and send it to the listing agent to submit your offer. So yesterday, there was a question, there was a bit of confusion. What's the difference between an offer and a purchase contract? Well, the purchase agreement is the offer, right? It's a purchase agreement that you're giving to the seller and saying, here's the purchase agreement. Do you agree to it? Sign it. If you don't, then you can counter me. So it's an offer. That's what the residential purchase agreement is. I don't know, like, if there was confusion, but then this person was confused about it. Like, what's an offer? What's a purchase agreement? So it's the same thing. Okay, so we're gonna go to car.org, car.org. And then once you get here, if you haven't already registered, you can register up here on the top right-hand corner. It's gonna say sign in instead of where it says hi Carlos. It's greeting me this morning. And then it'll ask you for username and password. And if you haven't registered, there's an option on the right that says register. But if you haven't done that, we could sit down and work on that. Most of you have already registered. But after you've registered, you have your username and password. When you go to car.org, you're gonna click on this big circle here that says access realtor secure transaction. Click on that. And then you're gonna scroll down and click on transactions here to access now. And then it's gonna take you to another, it might ask you for your login at that point. You're gonna type in your login credentials. And then one more page is gonna pop up. You're gonna click the orange button and then it'll take you to this. And once you reach this page, you're logged in. So first thing I wanted to talk about here is your profile. So on the top right-hand corner, you're gonna see a circle where my picture is. It's just gonna be a circle. Click on that and then click on profile and settings. And if you have not already done this, you should do this. On this page, on your information, it's not gonna have your DRE license number. You wanna make sure to type that in because that should show up at the bottom of every form. Click that orange button right there, continue. And then once you add your DRE number, make sure your phone number, email is correct. Click on save. There's nothing to save here, I didn't make any changes. And then click on settings up here in the gray bar. And make sure that Authentisign is selected. This is an e-signature third-party program that is automatically paid for. It's included in your fees. If you select DocuSign, I think they give you like 5 free signings per month, but then you have to pay for any other signings. But you get Authentisign for free, so just select Authentisign. It works just as good, and you don't have any issues with it. And then one other thing is you want to select, I don't know why mine doesn't have it here, the time zone. So after you select on Authentisign, there's a section that asks you what time zone you're in. You're going to select that and select Pacific Standard Time. I don't know why mine doesn't show that.
Did you do a select all?
No, up on the top right hand corner.
Yeah.
Click on it. Then do profile settings, the first one. And I'm under the settings tab. Let's see. Interesting. Okay, so once you've done that, just click on save, and then we'll go back to transactions up here at the top. That'll take you back to the home page for Zipforms. So make sure you have all your contact information that's updated on there. And then we're gonna go into how to create a transaction. How to create a transaction is pretty easy. You're gonna click on new, this plus button up here. And then you select whether it's gonna be a listing, a purchase, a lease, or a lease listing. A lease is when you're representing the tenant. A lease listing is when you represent the landlord. So in this example, we're gonna say, this is a new lease list, a new listing. So we're representing the seller. So I'm gonna click on new listing. And you can name it, and this is just to identify it. You're gonna have a bunch of transactions. You wanna be able to find it easily, so I'm gonna identify this one. And for listings, I'm gonna identify them as like the address. So I'm gonna say 123 Main Street. Because that's the only listing that I'm working with, right? If it was a buyer, I'm gonna name it the buyer's name. Because you might submit offers for 5 or 10 different homes. So if you save it using the home's address, that might not be the home they purchased, so you wanna save it with the buyer's name. So in this example, we're using the address. This is a residential property. And then you can type in the address here if you want to. Say Irvine. And then scroll down and click on save. You can leave templates alone. We're gonna talk about that later. Click on save. So now you created the transaction. Now we're gonna add the contacts, who the parties are. We're gonna add the forms that we're gonna use for the transaction. And any other information. So as you see, because I typed in the address, not the name is the address too, but I typed in the actual address, it auto-populates it here. The first thing I wanna do is I wanna go to the parties section up here at the top, this gray bar. So click on parties. And I wanna add the seller's name, so seller 1. So the seller 1 is gonna be Tom Smith. And the email address. And that's pretty much it. If there's a middle name, enter the middle name. So first name, middle name, last name, and the email address. You're typing in the name because this is what's gonna show up on the contract, everywhere he has to sign. And you're typing in the email address because you wanna be able to email this for them to sign at a later time.
Hey, Carlos, I have a question.
Yes.
Do I have to put this name, legal name here? For the
Yes,
seller's legal name?
yes, whatever's on their identification.
Okay, thank you.
And I don't wanna confuse you guys, but I just wanna prepare you for this. If the property is in a trust, then you're gonna write the trust name up here. Let me redo this here just to show you guys. So this is gonna be the Tom Smith Family Trust. And this is the name that's gonna show up throughout the contract as a seller. But down here, Tom Smith is gonna sign it with Tom Smith, with his name, Tom Smith. So then we're gonna type his name down here at the bottom and his email. So if this is an LLC or a trust or a corporation or whatever it is that owns the property, the name is gonna go on the top portion of this because that's what's gonna show up as a seller in the contract. Now, when you send it for signatures, the bottom portion is the signer for it, the signer representative, and their email address. And that portion, you might run into a problem if you have 2 signers. The first signer is gonna be the trust, and then the signing representative number 1, and you're gonna save this. If there's 2 signers for the trust, then we're gonna go to seller 2. We're gonna leave the name blank because you don't need the trust name on there twice on the contract. And then we're just gonna fill out the signer's name, so Jane Smith. So then when she signs, she's gonna sign the second line as Jane Smith. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I'll show you guys just an example of this. For right now, we're gonna leave this as is with the trust, just to show you. You guys wanna do this or just a regular one? I don't wanna confuse you guys. Cause you're gonna deal with both. I mean, okay, let's just move forward with this. So let's say the property's in a trust. Okay, so now we have the two parties, right? And myself as the agent. Make sure that you go into your name and make sure that your DRA number is in there. Like in this case, mine's not in there. So that's not mine. Oh, that's the company's 01516164. And mine is, what's my name there? 0, I don't know, 4, 6, 5, 0. I don't know. I don't know by heart. But anyways, just make sure that your license number is in there. And your email address, because you're gonna email it to yourself for signatures as well. So let's click on save. Now all the parties are in there, right? That you're representing. You as the agent and then them as the sellers. So now that you have the parties in, we're gonna go to documents up in the gray bar. And it's important to do this in this order because you wanna make sure you don't like forget something later on, right? Oh, I forgot to add the sellers. It's just, I don't know, this is a good order.
Looks like it goes down the line too.
Yeah. And then, so once you're in documents, it's gonna be blank. So what you're gonna do is on the top right-hand corner, you see all forms in blue. You're gonna click on that and you're gonna click on residential listing agreement. And once you see that it's highlighted, it's gonna show up in the document section here to the left. And now I can click on this form and begin to fill it out. It's gonna auto-populate their names. So if I scroll down, they're the sellers. You see how there's no name for the second one? Good morning. You guys see how there's no name for the second one? Do you remember for the second seller, we didn't put a name, but we put the signer? Otherwise, you would have the Smith Family Trust 2 times on there. We only need it once. So even though it doesn't show up here, it's still gonna ask her to sign. So in this example, I'm gonna leave it alone. And then you scroll down, you're gonna fill out the listing contract, like today's date. We're not gonna go over the listing contract, we're just gonna skim through it, make sure that all the initials and signatures are there, or names are there. And let's say this is ready to be sent out. We filled it out, we have a price, we have a beginning and ending date to the contract, and now we're gonna save this up here on the top right-hand corner, and then we're gonna prepare signing. So I'm gonna click on the prepare signing button at the top right-hand corner. This is ready to be sent out for signatures, and just simply click create. It's gonna show me the form. Let me close out of that here. First thing it's asking me for is add participants. Who are the participants to this form, to this transaction? I'm gonna add them from the transaction because I already added the parties in the transaction. So I'm gonna say add from transaction, and I'm gonna select myself and both sellers, and click select. And then automatically, the system adds their signature box where it belongs. It knows that seller 1 is there, seller 2 is there, and me as the agent is there. Let's zoom into this so you guys can see. Do you remember how we didn't put a name for Jane Smith? We left it blank because it's a trust. Well, her signature is going to show up as Jane Smith. Okay. Scroll down. And before you send this for signatures, make sure that every page that has an initial or signature box has one. Sometimes the system will skip it for some reason, then you send it, you get it signed, and then you have to resend it to get it signed again. So make sure you skim through, and everywhere that is required, there is a box for initials or signature. And you can even reposition them, drag it down a little bit, maybe that's too far up. You can move the date around. And let's say that it forgot to add Jane right here. Like, oh, hey, Jane's missing. We can go over here to the right side, select Jane's name from the list, and then click on sign now and drag it over to where she's supposed to sign. And then it brings the date along with it. You can either leave it or move it over, it's up to you. That's how you add the signature box. Pretty easy, right? And then if, let's say, they forgot the initial box here, you can just click on initials and drag it over and drop it there. Easy, right? All right, now you guys do it. No, I'm kidding, I'm kidding. All right, and then when you're finished with everything, make sure the signatures are where they're required. Then you're gonna hit next and then send. So next, and then send. I'm not gonna hit send, but that's where you would send it. And then if you wanted to sign in a particular order, you can do that. It's that way. So if you want, like, if the way it is now, all three people, recipients are gonna get it at the same time. And they can all sign whenever they want to. But if I check this box here, click this button, I can move it around and say, you know what, I want Tom to sign first, and then I want Jane to sign second, and after they've signed, then I'm gonna sign. So that way you know where it's stuck. You can let Tom and Jane know, hey, I sent over the listing contract for you to sign. If you don't see it in your inbox, check your spam, junk mail, or bulk, or whatever it is. And then once they sign it, then it notifies you, hey, Tom Smith has already signed. Now it went over to the next person, and then you'll be notified after Jane signs. So if you don't receive an email saying someone signed, you know that it's stuck with that person, right? If I don't receive an email saying that Tom signed, then I know Tom hasn't signed. He's the first person on the list. And I'll call Tom up and say, hey, what's going on? Dude, I need a signature. Let's do it. Let's get your house on
Tell
market.
us.
Yes.
So you just explained to me about this signing order. So do you kind of use this signing order to check who is signed or not? Or what is the
So
use case
that's a good
behind this
question.
signing order?
That's a very good question. So for the listing agreement, there might be one of the family members, either the husband or the wife, that they want to make sure that all the terms are correct. So maybe the husband will say, make sure, you know, my wife's gonna make sure that the terms are correct, so send it to her first. And then if you send it to the wife first, in that example, she's gonna make sure, okay, that's the price we agreed to, that's the time frame we agreed to, okay, I'll sign. And then if she signs, the husband's like, okay, if she signed, I'm gonna sign. So that's an example there of, hey, send it to her first because we need to make sure that it's correct. Or if they don't care, they already agreed to everything, they already know what they're signing, just go ahead and send it to everybody at the same time. Now, there are going to be times where you need to send out like disclosures. And the disclosures, there's the TDS and the SBQ that require the seller to answer the questions. So who's gonna answer the questions? Seller one or seller two? So who should we put first on the list to receive it? In that particular situation, you're gonna have to put the person that's gonna answer the questions as seller one, because it's automatically gonna default. The system thinks that seller one is the person that's gonna answer the questions. So in that example, you're gonna send the disclosures out in a particular order where seller one is gonna get the disclosures first. They answer all the questions and then they sign. And then it'll go to seller two. Seller two is like, okay, my wife answered all the questions. She knows everything about the house. I'm just gonna agree to it, right? And then it comes to you as the agent. Did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, now let's go back. Let's go back to transactions home. Now let's create a buyer. So we're gonna create a new transaction. And we have a new purchaser offer. Okay, so we're gonna select that. And with the buyer, this is gonna be the, I don't know, the Smiths. I don't wanna use Smith because we already use Smith as a seller. I don't wanna confuse you guys. So what?
Jones.
The Joneses. All right, so the Jones is the family. And again, the name is simply for me to be able to identify the transaction. If we already know what address, what property we're gonna submit an offer on, we can simply type in the MLS ID, and it's gonna auto-populate some of the information that we need for the offer. So in this example, I'm gonna use MLS Connect. And I'm gonna type in the MLS ID. And that's the correct property I want to submit an offer on, so I'm gonna use this. And then I'm gonna click on save. And look, it auto-populated the MLS ID, the address. It's gonna auto-populate who the listing agent is, who the listing brokerage is. a few different things, the parcel number. So now that this is done, I'm gonna click on, again, parties. And then I'm gonna go to buyer one. See, there's the listing agent. It brought that information in. So I'm gonna click on buyer one, and for buyer one, I'm gonna say Dan Jones. And then his email address. And then buyer two, him and his wife is Dorothy Jones. And her email is djones@gmail. And we're gonna save that. So now we have the two buyers. Now that we have the buyers, where do we go next? Documents. And then we go to all forms on the right. And we're gonna do the California Residential Purchase Agreement. Actually, the first thing we need to do is the buyer representation broker compensation agreement. So let's add that first. And then we're gonna add the purchase agreement. Remember, God, all these things, man, all these changes. You can't show property without having the buyer representation broker compensation agreement signed first. So let's click on that. And this has the agency disclosures. We're gonna check buyer. Actually, see, I didn't check that we have to have my DRE license number in there. The office DRE license number in there. And that should populate it throughout everything now. And then this is the purchase contract. Let's say it's all filled out, but look, it auto-populated, no, not on this one. It's gonna do that on the purchase agreement, I believe. But let's just click on save here. And then we're gonna go back. So we're gonna get this signed. Actually, let's go through the signing process on this. So let's say we fill this out, this is ready to go. And remember, these cannot be more than 3 months long. Okay, just a reminder, 3 months. Let's click on prepare signing. Create. And then we're gonna add participants from the transaction. On the right. And then I'm gonna sign, Dan's gonna sign, and Dorothy's gonna sign. Select. Make sure that everyone has an initial and signature box. Okay, and then I'm gonna click on next and then send. Pretty easy, right? Let's go back. And I'm gonna click on the purchase agreement. So now we're ready to write up an offer, right? We're not gonna go over the purchase agreement, but we're just gonna look at it. This has the agency disclosure as well, so they might have to sign that all over again. This is the offer itself. It auto-populated the listing brokerage, the listing agent, property address, the parcel number. And then this is where you write the offer, how much you want to purchase it for, where the buyer wants to purchase for, where the deposit's gonna be, how long the escrow is gonna be, let's say 30 days, and so forth. So let's say we fill this whole thing out, ready to go. We're gonna save it, prepare signing, create. And then again, who's signing it? We have to add participants. And it's gonna be myself, and Jones, and Dorothy. Save. And here, I don't care who signs it first, everybody already knows what the terms are, so I'm gonna leave it as is. Make sure there's a signature box for every page that is required. There's nothing on sellers because we haven't presented it yet. Once we submit it, then the sellers are gonna initial that and either agree to it or send a counter offer, but they still have to sign it at some point. For right now, we just need the buyer's signatures and initials. Okay, let's say everything's done, and then we click next, and then send. Looks easy, right? But when you guys do it, it's another story. The more you do it, the better you're gonna get at it. I would send yourself practice forms. Pull up a form, fill it out, just practice, send it to yourself for signatures, and it's just practice. Okay. Let's see. Let's go back to transactions. Let's go back to my listing on 123 Main Street. And let me go to documents. I wanted to show you guys the template section of Zipforms. You can create templates, and the templates are simply, it's a template of forms, like a list of forms that you want to save as a template. Let's say there's, let me show you an example. Let's say right now I just have the listing agreement, but I want to apply a template that I have saved. So I'm going to say, I want the template with the seller's disclosures. Apply. And it just added those forms for me. I didn't have to go through and look for them individually like you would. But if you wanted to search them individually, you can click here and type in like the transfer disclosure statement. Once you start typing it, you can find it, select it, and it'll add it. And then now you want to find the counteroffer. So we want seller counteroffer number 1. So then we would add that to it, right? So you'd have to search them individually. But you can create a template with all the forms that are required in the checklist, so that you don't have to go through and search for every single form and add it. You can just apply the template that you saved, that you looked for the forms one time, and then it applies that template. It adds all those forms to it. You still have to fill them out if they're required, but let me show you how to do that. So we're going to go to templates. Forms and checklists. Let's make a new template. This is for a listing. So let's call the template November. Residential. And you could set it to automatically apply the template when you create a listing, or you want to add it manually. So we're gonna just leave it, we're gonna leave it as is here. And we're gonna click on save. And now this is a blank template, right? I'm gonna start adding forms to it. I want to add the TDS. I want to add SPQ. I want to add WCMD. These are all forms that are required for the transaction. I want to add the, what are we adding here? The lead-based, say it's an older home. I think it's FLDina. Is it not there anymore? Let's add, the affidavit of non-foreign status. Let's add the buyer inspection waiver, because let's say we're not going to have a termite inspection and we want them to sign that. Let's say we have, I don't know, what other form do you guys, let's do counter offer. Let's do request for repairs, response to request for repairs. So these are all the forms that we're saving into the template. So now that they're here, they're automatically saved. We don't have to click save or anything. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, 6 forms. I'm going to go back to my listing. Go to documents. Let me remove these. Okay, so now I want to apply the template I just created. So I'm going to click on apply template. I want to apply this one that I just created. And it just added those 6 forms. So anytime I have a listing, I just click on apply template and it's going to apply all those forms, because my seller's going to have to sign those anyway at some point. So might as well have them all in the transaction now. Any questions on that? No? Okay. So let me get rid of these. And I'm gonna ask you guys individually what I have to do next. Are you guys okay with that?
Hey, Carl, can I ask
Yeah.
a question?
Yes?
What's the difference between the apply template and add a template? Or add a document? There are two.
Oh, no, thank you for bringing that up. So the add document section or button is if you're gonna upload like a PDF. So let's say you're representing the buyer. And you've already typed up the purchase contract, you sent it for signatures. The seller accepted it, and now the seller is sending you seller's disclosures, but they send them to you as a PDF. Now you're gonna upload that PDF into Zipforms, and then you have to apply the different signature boxes to that PDF for your buyer to sign. So add document is just when you're gonna add a foreign document into Zipforms. Now, because you're adding a new form, like a foreign document, which is a PDF, it doesn't automatically add the signature boxes for you. And let's do an example here. Let me see if there's any PDF. I don't think there's any PDF saved on here, but let's look. Let's create a PDF from here. So let me go to, I'll get to that. Let me start with this and then I'll show you as we go along. All right, so I'm gonna ask you guys, if I'm gonna create a listing, what do I do? Jameer, what do I do?
Click listing,
Yeah, but what's the first step from here?
go to new,
Okay, click on new. Zach, what do I do next for a new listing?
hit new listing.
Okay. What do I do next?
Put the name on.
Okay, what the name is gonna be buyer's name. Oh, sorry, seller's name. Seller one. Okay. And then, so let's save this. And then what do I do next?
Let's see. You put the MLS number.
There's no MLS number. This is a new listing, so it's not the
Oh,
MLS.
okay.
You wanna pass?
Oh, wait a minute.
Let's see, Alice, what do I do next? May Young, what do I do next?
Add an address, the street address, right?
You can, but the first thing I wanna do is add the parties to it.
Oh, I said the party already. Oh.
Yeah, I thought they would.
Yeah, I wanna add the parties to it, so I wanna know who's seller one. But you know what? Let's add the address to it. So let's do the 123 Main Street. Okay, I don't think we have to save, I think it saves it. Okay, I have the address, so what's next? Parties, right? Now, what do I select now?
You said party.
I'm in parties now. What's next? This is a listing.
Land information, the land.
Seller one, yeah, seller one. So let's do seller one. So this is gonna be Zach Jones. And then his email address, zach@gmail.com. Okay, and let's. Oh. That's fine. Okay. All right, so let's say there's one seller to this. Then what do I do next? There's only one seller, so what's next?
The buyers.
There's no buyers yet. Right now, we're writing up the
This is,
listing.
oh,
Yeah.
this is, sorry, sorry.
Documents, good.
Yeah.
Now that we're in documents, what do we add to it?
The listing agreement.
And where do I get that?
Form.
All forms. Residential listing agreement. Okay. And then I'm gonna click on that to open it, to work on it. And let's say this is all ready to go. We're not filling it out yet. We're just gonna say, what if I want to send this for signatures now, what do I do?
Prepare signing.
Prepare signing, good. And then click on create. You don't have to change anything there. And then what comes next? Somebody other than Jameer, because he seems to know this pretty well.
Add participants.
Add participants. And then one of you three, what do I select?
Phone translation.
From the transaction, yes. Okay. And then what?
And select click the seller. And
Yes.
the agent.
Yes. Then we select. Okay. And then we scroll down to make sure that all the signature boxes are what they're supposed to be. And they are initials. And then we click on next. And then send. Okay. Now. Still save. Let me create a PDF out of something here, so. Let's see, save as PDF. And I'm gonna download this. Okay. Now I'm gonna go back to the transaction. And I'm gonna delete this PDF. Okay, so. Now, I want to create a buyer, a purchase, a transaction to purchase. What do I do first? How about you guys at home on Zoom? If I'm going to create a purchase, what do I select?
New
Okay. And then what?
new purchase or offer.
Okay, perfect. And then what do I put under name?
Anything.
I guess anything so that it identifies this buyer, right? So I'm gonna say
Yeah.
buyer's name. And then we can either just do a blank transaction, or if we have a listing, we're gonna click on MLS Connect. So it pulls the information over, but let's just say we don't have the listing yet or the information. We just wanna get it ready so that when the buyer's ready, we can just enter that information. So then we click on save. And since we don't have the property information yet, what do we do first?
Uh,
Add party.
the more parties left side.
Okay, and then since this is a purchase, who are the parties to the transaction?
That's buyer one.
All right, let's do buyer one. And then buyer's name is gonna be Jameer, Jameer Watson. Okay, well, I didn't even do that. Okay. And we're gonna save. Okay, now that we have our buyer, what do we do next?
Buyer two.
Let's just say one buyer. What comes next? Documents? Yeah,
Documents.
and then what am I gonna put in the document section?
All forms.
Okay,
Buyer representation.
buyer representation. And what else?
Purchase agreement if you have it.
The purchase agreement. We can start filling out the purchase agreement. Even though we don't have the property information yet, we can start with what we know that we want to enter into it, right? And then add the price and the property and all that stuff later on. But for now, let's say we're gonna go into the buyer representation agreement. Since you guys are all here, let's just fill it out. Pretty simple. It's buyer's name in there. The company DRA number is 01516164. It's always gonna be the same. And then you're gonna enter your DRA number. Scroll down. Today's date. Beginning date today. Ending date is, let's see, all of November, all of December, all of January, till, let's say till January 31st. Okay? And we want this to be exclusive, so make sure you check this box. Because if you don't check this box and they end up buying through somebody else within this time frame, you don't get a commission. But if this box is checked and they purchase through another agent and they close successfully, you are entitled to a commission. Okay, so make sure you check that box. And then here, the property type, single family residential, check this, just leave that as is. Location, county, check county, and then just say Orange. If it's multiple counties, you're gonna type in Orange, Los Angeles, Riverside, whatever it is, right? All the counties you're gonna be helping them buy a property. You don't have to narrow it down to one, unless you know they're gonna buy in Orange County. And then, let's see. How much are you gonna charge them commission?
10%.
10%?
Yeah.
Let's say 3%.
Fine.
And what we could say is, look, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, I charge 3%, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna try to negotiate that the seller pay for my commission on your behalf. And if they say we're only gonna pay 2%, then maybe I'll just credit that 1% to you, and I'll just take what they're gonna pay me, the 2%. Or you could tell them, I'll take the 2% that they're gonna pay me, but then you're responsible for that extra 1%. So you can do whatever you wanna do with them, right? Depends on, but you cannot get more than what you're asking for here. So if you have, let's say your buyer, you and your buyer agree to 1%. And then on the purchase contract, you're asking for 3%, and they agree to it, you won't get 3%, you're gonna get whatever's on here. So it's better to say 3% here. And then if they say, we're only gonna give you 2.5 or 2%, okay, it's fine. It's less than what you're, what you're asking for here, but again, you can either credit the buyer the remaining commission, or they're responsible to pay for that remainder commission. That make sense?
So it has to be money, like some percent of the.
You want them to give you a car?
Yeah, like a car. I'm giving them a car, like a nice.
Yeah,
Car or something like that.
yeah, because here it only talks about money,
Yeah,
so.
is that possible?
No, but they can give you like a bonus or something, I mean,
Okay.
but here, it only talks about money, it's not like
Gifts or.
a list of, you're gonna give me a new house, or, whatever, a new car. And then you're gonna scroll down, and then so here, in this section E3, continue right to payment for broker involved properties, you can type in 60 to 90 days. That means that any properties you've shown them or submitted offers on, after your contract expires with them, and then they purchase the house that you showed them within 90 days after your expiration of your contract through somebody else, you're still entitled to a commission. Okay? But you have to give them a list of all the homes you showed them. So,
That's for how long? 1 year?
no, 90 days.
And this is 90 days.
So some people put 60 days, some people put 90 days, whatever you want to do. Some people put 120 days.
But after 90 days,
If they buy it to somebody else, then you're not entitled to a commission.
how long is that time? Like, for example, that person didn't buy anything after 90 days, bought it for like in 3 months. another 3 months or 6 months or 9 months, they're still gonna get the commission?
So if your contract is over January 31st, like we have here, and then like in February, they purchased one of the homes you showed them through somebody else, you're still entitled to a commission,
Oh,
Okay.
up to 90 days. But past the 90 days, let's say they submit an offer and they get accepted in June through another agent, then you don't get a commission, you don't get paid.
How
So
can we know they purchase the?
that's a good question. Yeah,
So even we put that is not, we will get.
right.
Like I guess you can go back and check your list of homes you showed them, right?
Yeah, but how are you gonna know that they purchased that home? If you're not, they don't talk to you anymore, they're working with somebody else.
Okay.
Unless you're stalking them and you're like
Yeah.
looking at every property,
Checking
who
that
bought this
list.
property?
Yeah,
I mean,
it's a lot.
you're probably better off marketing, just using that time to market.
Yeah.
But anyway, so let's move on here. Then you just scroll down and that's it. You just have them sign it. If the buyer is buying as an entity through their trust or LLC or some type of entity, that you would check this box here. And then you're gonna write down the name of the trust or the entity. And then down here, you're gonna type in the name of the authorized signers, which are gonna be the buyers, right? And then down here, you're gonna say the title is trustee. Or whatever their name is, their title is. But in this instance, in this example, it's not an entity, it's just a regular buyer. And then these are all the forms that are associated with this buyer representation broker compensation agreement. And feel free to read it on your own time. And let's say this is ready to sign, so we're gonna send it, this has to be signed before you show properties. So make sure you send it to them. So we're gonna click on prepare signing, right? And then create. And so this up here, this is so you can identify it after it's been signed. When it sends it off for signatures, it brings it back to the transaction signed. And it saves it as a PDF, so you can always access that. So we're not gonna change that. Click on create. And then again, add participants from the transaction. And then we're gonna make sure that there's a signature box where one's required everywhere. And then next and send. So. Ma Young, you were asking about added documents. So let's say, let's go back to the transaction here.
I think
Let's say
Alex
that-
asked.
I'm sorry?
Oh, no. Mhm.
Okay, so we're in the transaction, we're representing the buyer, and now the seller sent us some disclosures to sell. They filled everything out, they signed it, and now they're waiting for the buyers to sign it and send it back. I'm gonna click on add a document. And I'm gonna browse a document from my computer because I saved it from my email. They emailed it to me. Let me go back. The listing site emailed me the documents, the PDF. I'm gonna download those documents and save them to my computer. Okay, and then let's say I saved it in downloads. Select it. Okay. And now I want my buyer to sign this, so I'm gonna click on the document. This might be locked, it might not let me do it. And then I'm gonna say, I wanna sign this, so we're gonna e-sign. And then I'm gonna say, I want my buyer to sign this, so I'm gonna click on, come on, mouse froze here. Add participants from the transaction. Remember, this is a PDF I uploaded. And then, I'm just gonna close that. I'm going to go to tools over here on the right. And I'm gonna select my buyer, which is Jameer. And I'm gonna click on sign here and drag it over. And I'm gonna select my name. click it and drag it over. And I have to go through each one, each page and do that. So initials for the hold on a second. For the buyers. Oh, this is just an example. I was like, why are the buyers signing? So pretend these are the seller's disclosures. And the seller signed everything, and now it's just missing the buyer's signatures. Then we're gonna go through and add the buyer's initials everywhere.
Hey, Carlos,
Yes,
we have the really good form, but why do we need to what's the use case to use this add to document, especially PDF here?
what was your question?
Why do we need this use case? Like add to document, you download the PDF and
Well, because when you're representing a buyer, the seller has to send you all the disclosures. And they're only gonna send them to you as a PDF.
I see.
So you
Okay.
can, your options are, you're gonna sit down with your buyer and go through them and they're gonna initial and sign everything in person. Or you're gonna send it to them for digital signatures, so you have to upload it and add the signature boxes where their signature is required.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Okay. Does that make sense?
That's only when you import PDFs, right?
Yeah, when someone sends you a foreign document that wasn't created, so they created it in their Zipforms, but if you create it in your Zipforms and pull it from the form library, it'll automatically allow you to fill it out and it'll assign the signature boxes to where they go. But when you upload a PDF, or let's say a Word document or whatever it is that it accepts, it wasn't created on your Zipforms, so you have to add the signature boxes to it.
Too many to digest.
Is it? Is it really?
Yeah.
All right. But you guys are doing pretty good as far as the steps, right? That we need to create a transaction or a listing. So let's go back to transactions. Same thing. So if you're gonna create a lease listing, we're gonna go to new. This is important that you select the right one because it's gonna associate the parties that are involved in the transaction. If it's a listing, it wants the seller information. If it's a lease listing, it's gonna want the landlord's information. So it's important to know that. So we're gonna do lease listing. And let's just say again, 42 Main. Okay. We don't want a red spree here. We'll just do that separate. And when we go to parties, see now it says tenant landlord. It doesn't say buyer or seller. So make sure if you're gonna create a lease listing, you create it as a lease listing because you're gonna type in the landlord information. And when you send it for signatures, it's gonna look for where the landlord signs. If you have a listing, let's just a regular listing, and you try to send out the lease listing agreement, it's looking for the landlord. Who's the landlord? Because it's gonna be set up as a seller. It's not a seller, it's a landlord. Does that make?
Yeah.
Yeah, so. Let me go back to the other transaction so seller one, so this is for sale, right? But let's say accidentally, this is a lease, but I accidentally set it up as a for sale listing. And let's say parties. There's no landlord here, but this is a lease listing. So when I send this out for signatures, I can't, let's add that form, the lease listing agreement. Maybe it'll do it, I don't know, maybe it's smart enough to know. Lease listing agreement, okay. Maybe it's gonna put the seller in as the landlord, I don't know. Nope, owner initials, let's keep going here. Okay, it put in the seller as the owner. Now let's send it for signature, see if it knows. Add participant from the transaction. Okay. It automatically put you in as a landlord, even though you're seller one. So it didn't do that before. Before it'd be like, I can't put anything in, there's no landlord. But now I guess the system is smart enough to figure it out. Okay. But you should still enter a lease listing as a lease listing and a regular listing as a regular listing.
Right.
All right, I think we're gonna stop there. That's pretty much everything you need to know on Zipforms. All right, any questions? Oh, it's a lot.
So if you're meeting with a buyer and you're gonna have them handwrite it and not, do you upload it to like start the purchase agreement, or do you just enter the purchase agreement part, or do you also enter the buyer's representation agreement?
Enter it to what?
So if you're starting a new like the purchase side from the buyer side.
Yeah.
You added both the buyer representation and then the purchase agreement. Do you add the buyer side, the buyer representation agreement on there? If you're having them write it by hand, if you.
Well, you still have to print it out. So you had to pull it up into the transaction.
You started there. Then.
Yeah, so good question. Some people think that they could just go into forms and then just pull up the form. You have to create the transaction and then pull the form into that transaction and enter the names and everything, right? So that you can go back and add more forms or modify or whatever. If you just create just pull up the form, which I think you can do. Let's see. I've seen, go to forms. And I think you can pull up a form. I don't know. I've seen people do it. I don't know how they do it, but add form. I don't know. Let's say it's a BRBC. They can print this out, but it doesn't assign it to anything. So you want to create the transaction first. So you can always go back to it and make changes and then print it out or add more forms to it. See right here, we just created a form. It's not assigned to any transaction. And creating a transaction doesn't mean you're an escrow or they accepted your offer. It means you're just creating the folder where all the forms are going to be held for the transaction. Yeah. Anyway, that's it. If you guys have any questions, you can always come see me. And of course, like with everything, if you have a buyer or seller and you need help with the forms, you can just sit down with me. We'll schedule an appointment or with Richard and we can go through it with you, walk you through it. All right, see you guys next week. Cecilia's gonna do the social media marketing class next week. So you guys don't want to miss that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.